Hello again. I'd like to talk to you today, as I suggested yesterday, about the way that we use sentences which will create more or less impact in our writing. I'm going to read a bit of my own book to you later and you can work out what kind of sentence structure I've used. There are really three main ways of using our sentence structures, and that is to create long descriptive sentences, or to have what I'd call a medium-length sentence, which might have one clause in it, and then the main part of the sentence. And then there's the short sentence. And by using a variety of those, you can achieve a variety of effects in your writing. And if I just give you an example, you might be able to see what kind of effect it creates. First of all, to use the long one. So this is The Lord of the Rings, a large book compared to my book. And this is how it begins. So just see how long the first sentence is, and you can tell that because it's when I pause for breath. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 111st birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. That was the first sentence opening the book. Huge long sentence, and there's a lot of description in there. I'll just read a little bit more. Bilbo was very rich and very peculiar, and had been the wonder of the Shire for 60 years, ever since his remarkable disappearance and unexpected return. Now, in only 2 sentences, we've actually acquired an awful lot of information there about Bilbo. We know it's his birthday, we know he's going to have a party, we know he's 111, although that's said in quite an unusual way, which is the tone of the book. And we also know that he's been away. He kind of had some sort of remarkable disappearance. I wonder what that was. And then he came back unexpectedly. So in just 2 sentences, the whole story has begun to create that sense of mystery, which of course is why we want to read the book and find out then what exactly has happened. So the long sentences permit you to have lots and lots of description and put lots of information in. But they do lend themselves to a slow reading of the book because you can't hurry through it. And looking at the size of this book, you can tell that you're not really going to hurry through this in a couple of hours. So that's setting the scene and the pace for the way in which you're going to end up reading this book. Now, to move on to something that I would call in between, let's take Charlie Small, for instance. You might have read some of the Charlie Small series. This is made up particularly of mid-range sentences, I would say. So let me try and pick you one. Sometimes I lived on my own, sometimes with the Rapak War Indians. They're good people and have as much cause to hate Horatio Ham as I have. He had a gang of hired gunfighters run them off their hunting grounds. Now they live way beyond the valley, waiting for the time when they can return home. Same as me. They taught me how to track and hunt and survive out in the open, as well as when to fight and when to run. Can you feel the difference? I'm pausing quite a bit more regularly for breath, and I'm getting less information in the sentences, but it feels like it's travelling a bit quicker. Now, the book I wrote is written deliberately in short sentences, and the reason for that is because although the topic was originally aimed at high school children, perhaps from 11 upwards, the way that the sentences are arranged was for people whose reading skills weren't all that great. So they needed to be quite short sentences so that they would have something that they would have achieved at the end of every sentence. Some joke or some next piece of action, and it really had to move very quickly for them. So let me read you a bit. I'll read you from the beginning. You should see the inside of my school blazer. It hasn't got soppy name labels everywhere or school badges. No, there are 6 secret pockets. I sewed them on myself. Sounds unlikely, I know. I keep my important things in these pockets. And why do I do that, you ask? Well, let's just say that I move around a lot. Anyway, I'll give you a quick guided tour inside, from left to right. Now, in the story, Joseph Figgins, who's the main character, goes on to describe what's in his blazer, but then the real action happens. I'll read you a little bit of that. Oh, you'll recognise this if you listened in yesterday. That's the school bell. First bell of the day, worse luck. Oh, and guess what? Here comes Crusher Crawford and his mates. Some people are scared of him. I'm not. I call him Crusher Crumb. What are you looking at? He says to me. I don't know, but it's looking back. I fly under his arm and run off laughing. I hear him behind me. His feet are tapping towards me down the corridor. Quick, into the girls' loos. That'll lose him. I'm half out of breath. Only from surprise, mind you. And that's the beginning of where everything begins to go wrong for Joseph Figgins in the story. If you were just listening for the sentences there, did you notice how much shorter they were? And suddenly the action is travelling much, much faster. And so when you come to write, you need to consider what kind of flavour do I want for my writing, and also how much variety can I put in there, because sometimes it's great to have a bit of description, and sometimes it's great then that the action starts travelling faster. And I'm afraid in 1 week nobody is going to be producing a book like this. So you're going to have to think in terms of how you put your sentences together. Well, I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and we'll have a look at some tools for writing which might be able to help you in your quest to become a writer. See you then. Bye bye.